Tervetuloa kuuntelemaan Syvää henkeä podcastia. Tässä podcastissa sukelletaan pintaa syvemmälle mielenkiintoisten vieraiden kanssa. Tämänkertaisessa jaksossa meillä on vieraana mun ystävä Leigh Ewin. Leigh on hengitysvalmentaja sekä asiantuntija sekä kylmäaltistusasiantuntija ja hyvin monipuolinen bisnesvalmentaja. Hän on myös juuri julkaissut ensimmäisen kirjansa nimeltä Respiritual Awakening. Tässä jaksossa tullaan hieman sukeltamaan Leighin matkaan Australiasta tänne kylmään koto-Suomeen ja miten hän löysi hengitysharjoitukset ja kylmäaltistuksen. Tämä on ensimmäinen jakso myös, mikä tullaan puhumaan englanniksi. Haluan tässä vaiheessa myös kiittää tämän podcastin pääsponsoria Kääpä Mushroomsia, että lähditte tukemaan tätä podcastia. Mulla on Kääpä Mushroomsin tuotteet jo vuosia käytössä ja heillä on maailman laadukkaammat sienituotteet ja heillä on tullut tämmöinen aivan uutuustuote, Chaga-eliksiiri kauppoihin. Tämä on alkoholivapaa ja todella helppokäyttöinen sekä maukas, sopii niin smoothieihin, välipaloihin tai voi ottaa suoraan kielen päälle. Ja Chaga on tunnettu justiin siitä, että se on maailman antidioksiantti-rikkain tuote. Käyttämällä koodia Syvää henkeä Kääpä Mushroomsin verkkokaupassa saat alennusta kaikista sienituotteista sekä samalla tuet tätä podcastia. Voit myös tukea tätä podcastia isoiten tilaamalla tämän kanavan, jakavalla kaverille ja Spotifyssa antamalla arvostelun. Iso ja nöyrä kiitos. Pidemmittä puheitta käydään uusimman jakson pariin ja oikein hyviä kuunteluhetkiä. Very exciting to have you, my brother and mate and dear friend Leigh Ewin in the house. Welcome to the Syvää henkeä podcast.
My absolute pleasure. I'm so happy about this podcast, to be honest. So I'm thrilled to be part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been looking forward this date, and I was really and first of all, big congratulations for your first book.
Thank you. Yeah. That's this whole process has been very interesting. You know a little bit about the process more than most people. So it's been fun, but it's lots of new challenges.
Yeah.
You know? Like for example, doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So we like this episode will be like a little bit special because we record this like very close to the release date, and this is because I was waiting to have the book here and to have a little bit read it, so we could a little bit talk about it. But we're gonna have another episode for that because I'm really looking forward for this book and to learn from it and then to hear from you as well more about it. Maybe we will be touching some of the topics as well today. Yeah. But you're from Australia, right?
Yeah, that's what it says on my passport. Yeah, I'm from Australia.
Yeah.
I'm from Australia. So I think like when I first came to Finland, I checked once and it was like 365 Australians in Finland in 2008.
Yeah.
So I was one of them.
Yeah. And my first question for you is like, what is your favorite thing in Finland?
Oh man, that's just one thing?
One or two or how many as well you want to share?
Well, it's funny. It's a funny thing because like when you come here as a foreigner, then, you know, there's a lot of adjustment, you know, culturally, the weather, many of these things. And I think like if I'm being really like maybe honest and proud of myself, like all of the things that I was probably moaning and complaining about at the start, like the weather, like the Finnish way of doing things and people not everyone's you and like super like, hey, what's up?
Open and talking and small talk.
Yeah. So all of those things and, you know, the bus, you know, sitting on a bus and like, okay, there's no communication. It's just zipping the bags 100 times, and that's the signal for me to understand to let the person off the bus. Stop, you know, all those little things.
Yeah.
Like, all of the things that I had originally found to be like very challenging. I think I've done a pretty good job. I think I can confidently say by now, should do by now.
Yeah.
I think I've turned them into positives. And what I mean by that is like the weather. I love Avanto, the cold.
Yeah.
You know, I think you know that. You've been with me plenty of times to know that. The fact that people aren't talking so much on the bus, you know, and public transport and in general like that. You know, I found those moments to be very, very good personal, like it's good personal time to kind of study something or learn something. So in a way, like those kind of little things in life in Finland, I love those. I cherish those. And to be honest, when I go back to Australia, I a little bit miss those. I'm just like going into a shop in Finland. It's like, hey, you're here. Welcome. Cool. I can kind of go and do my thing now. In Australia, it's like, hey, can I help you? Is there a size or something? And enter these like really long conversations. So, but if I had to boil it down to one thing, I would say that the cold. The cold was something that kind of cracked me open, cracked a shell open, and sort of offered me a lot more insights of myself. You know.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the cold as well, because this is one of your professions, I could say, like guiding people how to use the cold and the benefits of cold. And we could even talk about the cold like whole episode. But I think like there's something what I'm interested to see like this, because you are from Australia and you moved to Finland and you are here now and super happy to have you here. And you have become, you as well have learned to speak Finnish as well. Maybe you can share a couple words.
No, you put me on the spot. Yeah. Mä rakastan suomi niin paljon.
Thank you. Yeah, but this is like a great and you learn it pretty quickly when you start to as well go into that. But so how is the difference? Like you were saying a little bit about the quietness on the bus and having this chipping thing, and I have heard like in Australia, like people are more open to small talks and this. So how you see the difference with Australia and Finland? What are the like?
There's a few. Like I would say there's this 80-20 rule. You know, because I'm from a little bit like the business world in some ways too, and the startup companies and technology as well. Like I have this kind of experience in my life as well. So, you know, in 80-20, in the American/Australian style, maybe you could even extend it to say English speaking style. When you have a product or something like this, you're kind of like hyping and promoting and marketing like 80%. You know, of the full thing, where 20% the product's maybe 20% ready.
Yeah.
In Finland, it's like the opposite way. You know what I mean? You talk about the thing only about 20%, but you must make sure the thing's like 80% ready.
That's a good way to say it.
So it's kind of like, in a way, it's like flipped on its head in some ways. And one of the biggest adjustments I had to make was, okay, like when I first landed here, do I actually have like 2 years, 3 years to go all in and learn Finnish like that? You know, do I really have that time to immerse myself? And then will I actually ever, you know, be considered like a Finn? You know, where are you from? Like I can detect an accent in your Finnish. Like, where are you from? So, you know, there's that angle. But then also I kind of decided like, if I want to be understood here and heard, I have to change the way I speak. A lot of people probably maybe they don't even recognize I'm from Australia because of the way that my accent has changed drastically. Some people think I'm from South Africa, for example, you know?
Yeah, you told me like you really learn from the accent as well to like it's like the maybe we can hear a little Australian.
G'day mate, how are you?
Yeah. I'm good, mate. Happy to have you here, mate.
And to be honest with you as well, if I go back to Australia, when I come back, people are like, oh, like what? Sorry, what? I've got to switch back. But that was a conscious thing. Yeah. It was a conscious thing. I had to kind of, like, with due respect, it wasn't like belittling anyone or any Finnish person or anything like this. It was more like I just reduced the vocabulary that I would use. Because I need to be heard and understood, not just heard.
Yeah.
You know? And also it was fun. That was fun a part of the writing process because I could just like blah, you know, like use all that vocabulary again plus some.
Yeah.
So it was a nice exercise for me to kind of like remember a lot of a lot of what I've been kind of like keeping aside, you know.
Yeah. And so when you have been living in the Finland, you came here to work, right? Or what was the
Okay, so like I came here on a student visa. Like I had planned, you know, I met a lovely Finnish girl, woman in London, and I just wasn't vibing with London. London was so similar to back home.
Yeah.
Like busy cities in a way.
Super busy.
People don't have the same kind of they don't look at each other really. They're just sort of like passing by. It's very common that you even get like a brushing by all the time, especially in the London metro and that. And you know, I had a fun time in London. It was very eye-opening, but ultimately that wasn't for me. That wasn't what I was looking for. I didn't get what I was looking for out of my travels abroad. And then of course, you know, I met a Finnish woman. I said, hey, do you want to go back to Australia for a bit? You know, she came back with me for a bit of time, met my family, all that sort of thing. And then, you know, I said, you know what, I don't want to be here. I'm still not ready to kind of resettle here in Australia. So I started looking at different study courses, and then I enrolled in a Bachelor of Business and Administration course. So at a Polytechnic University.
Yeah. And I admire you, like your story, what you have been telling me about how you get into the business world and like this. So it was not like easy start for you, and you kind of started from the bottom. Now you're here.
Now I'm sort of like maybe a little one step off the bottom. No.
But the thing was like many people know you about the cold exposure, breathing, and you share a lot about the wisdom of the breath. And oh my God, you are like this kind of like I always call you this thought, like the Egyptian thought, who was the god of wisdom and this knowledge. So you have a lot this very professional level things what you're sharing as well. But the thing what many people doesn't know is like this kind of business side of you as well. Like I was telling a little bit touching this, where you started and it was not easy start, but you became like you moved to Finland and you like in Australia you go to your first job and you get like hired into the high position in your job. And kind of like when I was listening to these stories, I was like just like, wow, this like business mentality and how you can go with the business world so well and kind of like that's really I see it's like a very nice side of what I have been seeing and getting to know you as well more. But how you see like the now you're working in Aalto as well, in the Aalto University, or is it called like Aalto University?
Yeah, like I mean it's a function of Aalto University, or a sister organization, which is like essentially it's like Aalto campus real estate.
Yeah,
they have the same board and the same sort of like founding members and everything.
And you are helping like this. There's some startup companies and like this, but you're as well like helping these many different business and giving this coaching as well to people who are in the business world. So how you see the business going, like how you see the business world? What is your view? Like anything, what it's just like.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like I mean it's true. Like in a nutshell, I mean like I was exposed to working life and the business culture very early. You know, like I didn't have too much of a choice about it. That was kind of how it was when I was 16. My brother and I have the same birthday. We were born on exactly the same date, you know, 19th of June, but 2 years difference.
Yeah.
And whilst we both got the joint present, you know, that's probably one of the benefits of having a joint birthday. Just like we can get like a Super Nintendo back in the day and share that together and stuff. Whilst he got like the birthday cake and everything, he could carry on, but it was like, okay, Leigh, you're like, you got to get a job now. We can't afford you in this house, so you got to go out there. Otherwise, you got to move out, you know. And so I had to go out there and do it. I had to, you know. Luckily, I knew a few people around, and you know, I wasn't left totally by myself or anything. I had some people kind of like steering me and helping me, but like, yeah, that was a very important time to me. It helped me take a lot of responsibility. Of course, I don't have the same mentality as a 16-year-old than I do now. You know, of course, I was like I felt like world was against me. Nobody loved me at that point. You know, it was like, you know, I felt a bit sorry for myself at certain times, but nonetheless, I did it and became like a manager in a supermarket actually back in those days. So, you know, fast forward to here in Finland, and Finland's like a very interesting high tech. Like it kind of prides itself on being a high tech hub. Of course, Nokia has a huge influence of that. A lot of the gaming companies, mobile gaming companies, Rovio and Supercell being like kind of global stars in that sense. And you know, that was also one really interesting thing about Finland in business terms, is that it's a very low hierarchy in a way. So you can actually have, you can get to know like the CEO. I mean, I've been sitting down in a meeting with Ilkka Paananen, who is the CEO of Supercell. You know, very successful. And now board, like he's on the executive board of Lego.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, like people that are doing big things, you know. But you can always, from one phone call or even just 2 phone calls, have access to these people. Whereas in Australia or in the US, I mean, it's like you have to go through this one and this one and this one. But here in Finland, it's like a flat hierarchy in some ways, so that you can actually approach people. So I feel like that was a very, you know, that's an advantage for Finland for sure. Now, if you want to ask me, like, if you really want to ask me, like, how the business is going in Finland right now. You know, it's worrying times in many ways. There's lots of problems. You know, at least, you know, that's the perception. It doesn't affect so much this startup world my little sandbox of the startup world, because we have like 150 plus companies in this building that I'm working at in Agrid, but you know, startup companies are all in the same situation anyway. They have like a short window of time of which they need to kind of ramp up a company, build a product, build a service, and get it to the market. So it doesn't affect the early stage startup companies so much, because the game is the same, but it does affect the amount of people that want to become like entrepreneurs, because it's very like a risky thing. It's a very, very risky business, you know, to go out. It's a very brave thing to do, but it carries a lot of responsibility, and and the stakes are a little bit high when you put your name on the, you know, signing the limited liability, you know, verifying your company, making it a legit company and a legit business, and then you're out you go. Then the bills start coming in, and you learn how real it is after that. Yeah. So that's where we're seeing the pinch in the amount of entrepreneurs that are coming through. But thankfully here in the university, in Aalto University, like we see a lot of the students all the time. And, you know, this particular fall season, you know, there's a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of like the students bring kind of the hope, because they're the future.
Yeah. And as well, the students and young people, like they can amaze the whole world. Like I believe like in the young generation, this is the future. It's not just like we have this one song in Finland when I was like younger. It's like this: me ollaan nuoriso, me ollaan tulevaisuus. It's like this kind of song, like this 12-year-old rapper was like singing this. But it's facts. Like I can see that. I wanted to touch a little bit this business side as well, because like your book is Respiritual Awakening. So kind of what I admire in you is how you handle the business world and how, because I know you pretty well, like and how you're a really hard worker as well, and you're doing many things, and how you can do those things, because like not everybody can have that kind of capacity to handle those many things at the same time. Like for myself, I can handle some things, but I see like I'm much more, you know, lazy person as well. Like but the way how you connect with the business world and the spiritual as well, it's really beautiful to see and witness, and this is something what I see like in the spiritual realms, like, or the circles, I could say. Like there's a lot of this spirituality, but then it many times is like not of course there can be these hippie times as well. Like there's many ways of spirituality. I think we are all spiritual beings, but the thing is like how like in it's usually like you're spiritual or you're in the business world. It's not many times. It's more hard to connect those two together, I see. Like, so how you maintain that kind of connection with yourself and kind of how you manage that kind of hard working and that kind of, I say it like hard work, or it's hard to say it in English.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know exactly. I feel what you're saying here. The sentiment. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing because, like, literally, I'm the iceberg, or what I'm doing is an iceberg in some sense. There's on the surface level, most people see what they see on social media and things like that. But like people like yourself and people from around the campus in Aalto University, they know that I'm like managing many more things. Yeah, it's not easy in a way. But like I like doing a lot of different things, and I also really I'm fortunate in some way that like what my passion lies in things that are really good for me and good for my health, you know. And then I know people like you and like my close or inner circle, everyone has some skills or some gifts or some things that they're contributing where I can also benefit from this too, right? It definitely helps to be able to know something about breathing and the nervous system. It definitely helps. I mean, there's a reason why I go to the cold water practically every day or every second day, you know, something like that, because I need those things. But that also helps me to do what I need to do as well. Now, I want to say also that like it's not, you know, when you talk about things like biohacking, right, it's all about optimizing and sort of like kind of clarifying things, right, and boiling it down to the most like, you know, the most highest impact version of the thing, right? And in a way that American style of biohacking has that kind of, okay, cool, now I have more time to work more, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
But then, as you were saying right at the end of the question, it was like, okay, like what's work actually? Like, what is work? Is your sound healing session work to you? You know what I mean? Like in a sense.
Yep.
So in a way, it's just more like living the passion. The work to me in those things is the countless amount of like, and like this is where when you said you're a little bit like a bit lazy or whatever, like I don't know about that because I know how much it takes to go and do all the, you know, you're lifting gongs around, you know, like huge gongs in and up, upstairs, through the doors, you know, driving around all the time, spending a lot of time to get to the places to deliver and share your gifts, right? And then also it's all of the back end stuff, the social media. The real thing here is that like the business side is, for me, is that kind of stuff. And I've learned I think I've learned really well in some way that I need to adjust constantly and tune in to the amount of time that I spend sharing and doing the magic shit or the stuff that is my calling. Like I need to be able to do that more and more and more and not get sort of like stuck in all of the business stuff. I call those social media things business stuff. I try and enjoy those things as much as I can. But sometimes it's very difficult, you know. It's very difficult. It's just part of the machine, the business machine, to do those things. So that's the thing. And I'm like I said, I fall back always towards the breath. I fall back to the cold exposure. You know, if you and I are doing a session, like people often forget, like when they're participating in that, I'm there as well, right next to you, getting a full gong bath.
Yeah.
Myself, feeling this beautiful vibration, kind of like that. But then also, I'm in this unique situation or position where I can see you doing your craft, and that's very inspiring to me, and that give me a lot as well. So, yeah, this is the thing. It's like my long answer comes back down to like what really is the work. What's really work? People talk about inner work as well. Breath work. What is breath work? Well, yeah, you can work on your breath, but should we not call it breath play? Because in a way, it's like exploring that. It's understanding that. So
exactly. Yeah, it's true. Like how you say something like, because like we never see ourselves. Like that's maybe one of the hard things. Like what I was reflecting through you as well. Like because for me, it's like I feel like I do many things, and I kind of need to do as well many things, but it kind of been coming in the way automatic, but still like super focused, because I cannot do anything like 50% or something. Anything I do it 100%. Because it comes down to the customer service, and this is what I want to make as good as possible. But as well, like having myself as well, kind of like the discipline to kind of like I know many things what I wanna do, and what I want to conquer as well. But many times like it makes me like hard to stay consistent in some things. But then when I get into some things like consistent, like this with this podcast, so it starts to roll, and I'm good with the routine, so building with this. But I want to reflect that kind of like we never see ourselves, like and there's always like that's important as well to listen what other people saying, to receive those words as well, because for me in my path that has been one of the important things to. Like when I have been doing something in concerts, I was unconfident in sometimes like, is this working? Is people enjoying? But like time and time again, people are, telling me how good this is, and that kind of give me that fuel to keep going on, and I feel like it's something meaningful as well.
Well, you have the kind of the winning formula in some sense, right? Because it's like, okay, they say sometimes like the hard work can beat talent. Consistency and hard work usually beats just pure talent and kind of like turning up every so often. But you actually have both of those things, right? And like when you have a mentality where you just want to apply yourself to something that's you're super passionate about, then that's the place to be. And in a way, like a lot of people are looking for how to find those things, like how to observe, like when do you know those things? And I feel like the excitement and the passion is where you like, when you're experiencing this, like, hey, like I felt like freaking terrific doing that, like you're reflecting. So when you get this mirroring back from people participating, it's like, hey, this is kind of like confirmation that you're on the right track and on the right path and doing the right things.
Exactly.
So yeah, so this talent thing versus the hard work and the consistency. If you the old saying, if you take an axe and chop away at the tree in all these different places, the oak tree is just standing there. But if you concentrate and focus on the one place and you keep swinging the axe, eventually the tree come down.
Yeah.
Not that we're trying to take any trees down here.
Yeah, true. Good way to say it as well. And like I have been, like I was touching a little bit the business and the spiritual and how these connect and like this for myself as well. I have been learning just by doing it as well. Like you were touching a little bit these things like driving and carrying the gongs, carrying things, and so like I never even thought about it this too much. But then you were saying we talk a lot, but one day you were saying this like as well, like Jani, you're becoming as well like professional driver and professional in these different areas, and I see this as well. Like I hate being coming much better in the marketing. And need to learn many things when you're an entrepreneur. You need to learn many things and how it works and how you kind of what are the keywords to the ads and what are the people, what is your message and kind of like the main thing is that kind of brand and how you build up that brand, because that's kind of like the thing where the business and the kind of spiritual, like the meaning, what is like the meaningful, what you do is coming together. So the thing you were telling about this, so you connect with yourself kind of with the cold and with the breathing. But how was your first time? Was it first time you go to the ice lake in Finland? And how was it?
Well, as I think it's been well documented there. Like, no, I full transparency, I put that out there. You know, there's a video.
Yeah.
You know, there's a video of the first time I went to the cold, and you know, it was the length of the video is about a minute from like the moment I walk down there and then finally get in and all that sort of stuff. But like the amount of time I stay in is like a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
So of course
it was quick dip.
Very quick dip, very quick dip. Not getting the full health benefits of the, but you know,
this is how it goes, man. Like for me as well, it was quick dip.
But that, in a way, that's why it works, right? I mean, that's why this, you know, being authentic about it and actually sharing that video out shows kind of the journey, because nowadays it's a lot different, you know, doing ice diving and stuff like that. So. Yeah, it's important to show that, because then it gives a lot of people confidence that, hey, well, maybe they even think they're not that bad, you know. It's like, actually, I could do better than a couple of seconds that this guy did. But it was a steep learning curve. But you know, that talk about consistency a minute ago. I mean, that's what it was. That's all it was. I grabbed that and said, you know what, I want to do that. I want to actually get better at that.
Yeah.
Now we can argue about the reasons why I did that. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily like these like very spiritual reasons. It was more kind of a little bit like, I'm gonna show my colleagues, you know, that I can do this next Christmas party. But I did it. I eventually did it. Not the first year, but the couple of years later. Yeah. I was ready to go. So yeah, consistency and the effort.
So do you remember like how it felt for you, like to go first time into the cold?
Yeah, it felt painful. It felt painful, you know?
Yeah.
But then again, as I learned, that's just in a way a feeling, you know? And of course, the biggest teacher of the cold was like, okay, so I can actually influence this feeling inside my body. And you know, the fact of the matter is, when you're in a cold body of water, it's like all of your whole body saying, hey, like, hello, you're in cold water here. There's a threat. This is not a good thing for you. Yeah. You know, all of your normal systems in the body are kind of like encouraging you to get out. But the breath was the way. It's like, okay, like if this stress response is coming in the body when I'm in the cold, how does stress feel again when I'm in a road rage or an argument with somebody or whatever's going on in my life? Actually, it happens the same way, minus the cold water in a sense, you know? So it was like, okay, like I feel like something's building up, and then just like this. And in a way, it kind of, I've managed to boil it down to like breathe like you want to be there. Like if you're in the cold water and you're like this is usually like you're running maybe away from something or to something, or you're ready to kind of like, let's go, let's get it on, like this. That's not necessarily breathing like you're really happy to be there. So you wouldn't be like, it's the same thing if you're in a first date with somebody. if you're sitting there like super nervous to the point where you're like this is weird, you know, this is not what you're trying to express to someone in a first date. So you must breathe. You want to breathe like you really want to be on this date. There's a reason you turned up.
True.
So, and through this mechanism, you can actually influence a lot of the things in the life. But that I will never forget the pins and needle feeling in my feet. You know, even that time. I think it was even that video I had like white. Did I have the cotton white socks on in that video? I think I even tried to put socks on. Like that's going to do something. In actual fact, it felt even colder.
Yeah. Like for me myself as well. I remember the kind of first couple times I went to the cold, and it was like very quickly and with sauna as well. And it took a long time for me to really start to enjoying that and kind of learn to enjoy it as well. But like this was like it reminds me in the way as well, like this kind of it's really strong experience, you know. So it's something like, oh, why I cannot stay in the water like this? Some people there, the grannies are swimming just like. Many minutes there, but why I cannot be on this, you know, this setup now, like right here, right now?
Well, I mean, like you just mentioned before, like it's a business and a spiritual, you know?
Yep.
In a way, how I was doing the cold was like a business thing. It was like, I got to get in there, I've got to execute, I've got to like hit the target, I got to, you know, perform, all that kind of stuff. And then also like hopefully if anyone's doing it in a way where it kind of starts to mean something more, like you kind of sort of shift over towards this like embracing the experience, and then it becomes more of a spiritual thing in a way. And there's been times where doing the cold with other people, like a group, has been really fun and all that kind of thing. But there's often times where I just need that for myself. Like that's my time, my place, my spiritual moment as well.
Yeah, and like you've been doing this a long time as well, and I have been now. Like last winter, I was like really regularly going into the ice lake and like a year before that as well. And this was like when I moved into this countryside place, and it was like 10 minutes to drive there. But when I started to do this like regularity, it became like this kind of thing what I was always like looking forward. And same time, I was like, no, I don't want to go there. It's always this thing with the cold, like I don't want to go there. It's like uncomfortable, and like this, I'm like in the morning, like just like it's nice to stay like in the winter time just inside, not go into the lake and change your clothes, and it's cold already, and if it's windy, oh my god. But then when I go to the lake and I stay there, like usually like I take my timer there, so I just stay like 5 minutes, not try to push myself like too much, but just have that kind of great start for the day. But every time I have conquer myself to go there, take that steps, take my, you know, this kylpytakki off, bathrobe off, and like going into the water, and that's the thing. Like when immediately when you get into that water, that kind of the peace what start to arrive from the inside, and I feel like it's just like with the cold, it's this really, and I usually go just by myself, like it's my thing in the way. There's not people living next to me like who wants to join me and like this, but every morning that's like the greatest start for the day to, you know, and I see like it makes me sleep much more better, and it as well helps me kind of get into that very, how I say, like motivated state, but this kind of state where I'm ready for the day. I want to do things. And usually I make my morning practice after the cold, so I get heat up my body and like this, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? It creates an inertia. Maybe I'm using this vocabulary. You know,
what is this inertia?
Inertia. It means like it's the start of a movement or a motion. You know, so in a way, if you're doing this in the morning, like imagine the gift that you can give yourself in doing something kind of difficult in the morning.
Yeah.
You wake up out of bed, like, let's be honest, there's some mornings where it's like, oh, it's actually pretty cold, you know, let alone going out and taking the bathrobe off and going in an ice lake somewhere. Yeah. And, you know, for a lot of people, we'd like love to stay in bed and snuggle, you know, stay a bit longer and all that, have a kind of slow morning, whatever. But getting up with a purpose and kind of like saying, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I know it's a little bit difficult. There is always like even I've been doing it a lot of times, and like just about every time there's some sort of level of this sort of like, oh, if like you said, the wind, it's like, I don't know how many times I go down to where like the beach where I go and the wind is always there. And it's like, oh, that wind this morning. It's like, yeah, I said it again. Here it is again. Yeah. So you feel all those little things, but that's already your body sort of like preparing you like, okay, it's cold. You're doing something that feels a little bit, might be challenging or difficult. Even a cold shower. Yeah. The cold shower is very difficult because you even worse in a way because you have a choice. The choice is right there. You literally have that red one, you know, the red tap. You can do that one, or the cold. And in a way, it's like the Matrix. In a way, you know, we're saying, would you take the red or the blue or what? You know,
true.
And if you're actively choosing a little bit more difficult way, then I think you can do all the difficult things or the perceived difficult things for the rest of the day. Yeah,
like I see like this is one thing with that as well. Like if there is dream, like there is some dream what you wanna like in your life. There's dream what you dream of your life. The English sometimes gets me, but kind of like. So what makes us passive and kind of get in us stuck is that we make it too big thing, and we don't make kind of those steps because we cannot immediately get into kind of professional and stay like on the cold water with the bread hole 20 minutes under the ice and like this. But like so it's small steps and kind of like understanding that it is any. Like if you wanna conquer your dream and live your dream life, it's kind of already here. But that's kind of takes it into that kind of cliche, like it's not about the destiny, it's about the journey. It's about going and doing that thing every day, and from that consistently doing every day, you start to see the benefits. You start to see how you have grown. How things start to get easier, like maybe like going into the cold, like first time it's like terrible, but second time it's easier. Then you start to get used to it. And like same with some meditation or like this, sometimes it can be first start to be easier, but then it starts to get as well harder. So everything goes like not so linear. But kind of like it's starting to something, and just like just speaking about our listeners as well, to like if there's someone who is interested to start to use the cold as to benefit, it just starts like just going there and trying to take one breath, like trying to just taking one breath. Next time, trying to calm your breath or something like and. Like from that to build up even into the voice or something like this.
Well, it's a business thing too, right? I mean, that's like a life thing or a life philosophy, you could say as well. So, if you're just an entrepreneur building your own businesses, you can't be a €1 million valued company overnight unless there's something exceptional about what you're doing. Or you have the right kind of contacts or investors or whatever. But, you have to iterate and test in a sense. You know, you have to find out what works. You have to find out what people respond to. And in the case for the avanto and doing it yourself, it's about experimenting with it yourself. Like, is it good to go in the morning for me? Like, we're saying, yeah, it's good, but like there's probably people listening to this that, actually, I don't have time, or have kids, or, you know, all these things. Like, okay, well, can you find time elsewhere? Does it feel good elsewhere? If you have the choice, which one do you prefer? And listening to yourself. But then also, do I like sauna with it? You know, like just trying and finding the way you like to do it. Because I think what a lot of people, you know, that's the whole Wim Hof thing. You know, Wim Hof, this guy who's like super like, hey, 24 Guinness Book of Records, all the rest of it. And then everyone gets very inspired and motivated from his story. But also it's like virtually impossible from day one to kind of do these things, right? And then there are people that try and do those things on day one, and they end up the ones that maybe hurt themselves or get burnout from this kind of like they get themselves sick or whatever. But yeah, like just finding listening to yourself actually is the best way. There are people that need the motivation from other people. They like make a little group. They go to the cold together once every Tuesday or something. Yeah. And then that becomes the thing. Then they get more confident. They know, oh yeah, actually this feels good. Then the next minute they're going by themselves in the little bathrobe, trotting off down to the cold water, you know.
Yeah. And like you know it, like, and you say it like right. And as well it reminds me how I started as well, like first time going, and it was like always like it was more like this social thing. We go with some friends into the Kuusijärvi, we go Savu sauna, and then we go to swim. And I remember when I first time like went do that like to sauna and to cold, and I do that like 5 times. I always remember it was like 2018 it was like I started to go into swimming into the cold. And I remember like after 5 times doing that, the feeling after that was like, oh my Lord, like it was so like everything was like moving inside and kind of having this so good feeling, this release of good hormones and all these things. It brings me into the next question, but maybe if you can have this in nutshell, what are the benefits like using the cold or going into the cold or exposing yourself for the cold?
Well, I mean, we have already touched on the mental benefits, right? Like that shouldn't be like forgotten, you know. The mental benefits of like doing something difficult and then like kind of turning up and being consistent and showing yourself that you can do that, right? Because we all have that. We all have that somewhere deep inside, right? We just have to choose to want to turn up and do it. So there's that. Then also like, you know, in terms of metabolic health, there's a lot of benefits. We're talking about fat burning in the body, producing brown fat, things of that nature. They're important things. But for sure, the immune, like I think number one thing is the immune system. And the fact of the matter is because of those so-called stress hormones, which are otherwise known as catecholamines in the medical field, they are the adrenaline and cortisol. A lot of people forget that they're rising in the body anyway every time you wake up in the morning. But of course, when we talk about stress more in depth and we talk about psychology and things of that nature, we're kind of talking about them as being stress hormones. But that's responding to some kind of perceived stress from the body, from that part of the reptilian part of the brain, which is basically just trying to have us survive. So in a way, the way that our bodies produce different cells when we're in the cold is a very, very advantageous thing, because then we can start to see in studies where the white blood cell count is lowering when we're doing the cold, and the white blood cells are the ones that are produced from stress themselves. So adrenaline actually and cortisol is a very, very, when it spikes in a kind of a healthy way like this, it suppresses those white blood cells in the body. And a lot of people don't know that. And maybe they're experiencing the same things as me, not being sick for such a long time. They're wondering how it works. That's how it works. But then also, like the fat burning is like one of a lot of the, it's one big reason why people do it. But then also aesthetic things like the amount of collagen produced in the like putting your face into a bowl of cold water keeps the skin tight, keeps it looking nice and fresh as well. What else? I think there's the immune system is like the number one thing.
Yeah.
Because like there's no sort of like, I wouldn't say there's a big correlation when I first started to when I've last been sick.
Yeah.
It's not by mistake.
Yeah.
It's not by coincidence that I started going to the cold in 2011. And okay, I think 2012 I think I got like some kind of cold or something then. Maybe I was going too hard in the cold or too much. And then since then I have not been sick. I have not been sick. Everyone who knows me knows that I've not been sick. I have had this COVID in 2021, I think it was. But other than that, no. So the body of work shows this.
Yeah.
Of course, the other benefits refer to inflammation in the body, essentially. That's also talking about the white blood cells. We know that when you're a kid, you roll the ankle or something like this. Like in Australia, we have the bag of peas. The frozen peas is always in the freezer. Mum would grab those and say, okay, you've hurt you. Put the cold on your ankle. It will help with the inflammation. So we know that works on a sort of like local level in terms of just putting it on the skin. But when you immerse yourself in the cold, this is also taking the inflammation out of the body. And that's, of course, I always feel like compelled to say, that means it's not a good thing to go to the cold after you do the training, right? Like, you do your kickboxing training and things like that. Cardiovascular training, it's a great thing to go to the cold because we want the inflammation to decrease. But then if you're like getting the pump.
Yeah, like building muscles.
Yeah, building a muscle. And like literally what the pump is the blood rushing to the muscle. There is this inflammation there in a sense. And we actually want that. We actually want that because then the tissues will repair and heal themselves. So yeah, this is a very big thing as well, this rest and recovery aspect of it as well. And then also like training the mind and having this meditative thing. This is a huge part of it. When we talk about the combination of the physical process of entering the cold, and guiding ourselves by the breath, but then also things that are happening inside the body, but also this kind of psychological thing, this kind of stress management thing where we can actually be there in the cold and be like really relaxing and breathing only.
It's super interesting to speak about the benefits, and I see like for myself, one of the biggest benefits is this thing that I kind of get this, how I say this, like when this spikes my stress levels that high, I don't stress that much. Even like it's my stress response or something like this is like I see like it makes me calm like for the whole day, and kind of it has been helping like even not going cold. I can manage the stress much better.
Resiliency, right?
Yeah, resiliency, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like, the fact of the matter is, when you're in that environment, it's very natural that your heart rate goes up. Like it's like tu-tum, because we want to be. Your body's like signaling. Okay, we get adrenaline, which is energy, like moving around the body.
Yeah.
And it's like literally your adrenal glands are saying, here's some energy. And how does that energy, get around the body?
Yeah, and start to warm up the body as well.
Well, like you have so many complex, all the blood vessels in the body is like crazy. There's so much and so many of these, like thousands of kilometers worth of blood vessels literally in the body. And the only way for that energy to make its way to the legs or arms or whatever is from the heart to beat faster. So it's a natural mechanism of the body to start like having the heart beating because it's trying to get the energy to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
But then what do? We relax. We breathe calmly. We breathe slowly. And then we have that beautiful, like we're not releasing that energy in a sense, like we're keeping it in the body. And that's why if you're like peaceful in the cold, just resting there, and then you get out, it's time to go, you get that kind of, oh yeah, I feel great after.
Yeah.
And that lasts a long time because you haven't kind of like used it or released it. So yeah, that's a really interesting thing. And then just, I just touched on the cardiovascular system. Like this is like a cardio workout in a sense. It's the same in a sauna too, because your beats per minute, your heartbeats per minute can actually like increase. But then it's also giving you this understanding that you have the tool inside to kind of decrease that. And of course, you can ramp it up if you want to, but in that situation, we want to do the opposite. We want to go back down.
Yeah.
So in a way, the circulatory system is sort of at our command through the breath and through the sauna or through the cold as well.
Yeah. We are already getting into the breath a little bit, touching like the surface.
I can't help myself. Yeah.
but these are all kind of what we are, I think, like very intuitively just flowing with these episodes. But I feel like where we are going in the way as well. But the things, so there is as well, there's many benefits and there's as well many things to look for as well, like but then there's as well this one thing with the cold as well. So the cold can be good for you, but it can be as well bad for you. So I think like that's something what I wanna touch a little bit. So there is some situations when it's not maybe the best idea to go to the cold. Like I say, my experience is this, like if you're healthy, you're in good kind of like you can start from anywhere, but if there's a lot stress already like in your life, it can be like I have seen this just like myself and my own experience. Like there's some mornings like when I have go into the cold and I have get exhausted, like I have go like so tired I cannot do anything. And this is something what my experience is like when to not go cold, when it's like when there's too much going on, when it's like too many stressful things in the life. So it's not maybe the best idea to start to go.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line, right? I mean, like if listening to yourself, that's what it boils down to. Like what you're explaining there is like you need to be in tune enough to yourself so that you can kind of understand or understand what do I need right now. But if you really boil it down to that, then waking up in the morning, like I said earlier, like the stress hormones start increasing in the body. So even like, we are creatures of comfort. In many ways, humanity has kind of deserved or earned its comfort in some way through all the years because we have these brains and we have kind of used them to communicate and like work together and all these kind of things. But, we still have this kind of remnant of being like maybe in a cave somewhere or, a threat. So as soon as you rest and you wake up, your system switches on, your blood pressure goes up, your heart's, because your heart needs to beat again because you need to start getting the body's systems ready for action in some way. And that's also telling us that there's a stress, right? The blood pressure goes up and it's like, okay, you get a bit of these adrenaline going through the body and so on. So you're like, okay, what have I got to do? Your pupils get dilated. You're trying to figure out what information's here. You hear a noise. You can't, like, okay, what's happening? Mm-hmm. So in a way, that's the natural state of the body. So if we really, really listen to that, we would stay in bed. We'd actually stay under the covers. Like, what? Loud noise. I feel my heart rate's going. I'm back under the covers. I'm going to rest it again.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very fine line,
Yeah, true.
And just on your point as well, like I went through a very, very stressful moment in my life or a period of time in my life where I also felt very much the same in terms of the physical stress that I felt in my body. And often I was doing the breathing and I was like, I can't settle into it or something like that. And for me, in those moments, the reset that I needed was the cold.
Exactly.
And I know that physically that might take from me. Like it takes a lot of, like the metabolic rate goes up 350%.
Mm-hmm.
Like it takes a lot of energy to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and then heat the body back up again. Like that process is probably what was making you feel very tired after your experience there. But, you know, inside, spiritually, inside for me, what that gave me was like I had to make that assessment.
Yeah.
Like that's actually giving me way more than what, like the resources or what I have to put down on the table in order to do that. So I think that's the thing. And then of course, when you're in those stress states, that's not an easy time to be connected with yourself and to be really like, oh, hang on, let me really run let's run the maths on that. You know? You know, so it's not so easy, but generally speaking, like I feel like I have a very good, like I listen to my body very, very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there is a famous book written that the body always keeps the score. And that book is explaining that the signs of sickness and poor health are already present in your body, or always present in the body, long before kind of like the train comes off the rails, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's very important to hear those things, to like if you have the little injuries, or for some people it can be like I haven't slept well for 3 or 4 nights. It can be like this. You go through these phases or patterns, and you might get this little or you get a bit of a headache that keeps popping up, or you rely too much on the coffee. Yeah. And when you see yourself doing those things, hopefully you can be in tune enough to where you're like, hey, now maybe not today. Yeah. Maybe I need more the sauna and relaxation. Maybe that's what I need. Yeah. Or maybe give it 2 days away from the gym and rest.
And I think this is important thing as well, because like I a little bit want to ask you about the contraindicators, but the thing about the whole thing, what you were saying, like listening yourself. And this is one of the most important things, I think, like in life, basically, and the kind of the thing to not listen yourself, imitating and pleasing everybody and find your place and I need to go to the school. My parents say I need to go to the this and this and this and then you are doing so many things, and then it comes in some point like the time you start to get to know you, what you want, how you feel. And I think like that's kind of like the most important thing is to start to connect with yourself and know yourself, know your limits. And you never know your limits if you don't little bit go into those limits as well and try something uncomfortable. Like those experiences are those like what gives us that connection with ourselves as well.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's like in a way, if you want to talk the science, like in life, in a way, biologically, the growth of cells happens when there is a so-called stress, you know, like a perceived stress, a change of state somewhere in the body, temperature-wise, you feel scared, like these things that are hardwired, emotions and whatever that are feeding back into your nervous system. Your body is literally creating resources because of the stress, right? And so like one of the things I'm constantly, at this point, I guess you can call it preaching, is that without the growth, like what are we doing? Like without flexing those, you know, you've heard me talk about the elastic bands before. Yeah. Like all the systems in the body are elastic bands. They're all beautiful and they all work together in some ways, most of them. And if we're not kind of like stretching them and keeping them open, when we do go to stretch them, like if you haven't done cold for 10 years and you're like, okay, now's the time I'm going to do 10 minutes or even 5 minutes. True. And you go and do it, you can actually probably get sick from that, you know? And that's kind of like the equivalent of the elastic band sort of breaking because you haven't kept it open. You haven't gradually, you know, if you even grab an elastic band and pull it like all the way, straight away, it snaps. So you kind of have to slowly stretch it, slowly take it and keep it, open up the form. So yeah, and that's why it's really important. There's a lot of, when we're talking about the negative effects of the cold, you know, there's for sure a lot of people, like if not everyone, who's saying, hey, during pregnancy, you should not go to the cold. That's not a good thing. But if you really listen to the contraindicators of being pregnant, you wouldn't drive a car, you wouldn't go and do yoga, you wouldn't go and eat dairy food or whatever. You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you wouldn't do. Actually, being a pregnant, like according to all those regulations and all that, you wouldn't barely do anything. You'd just be sitting on the couch.
Yeah, and that's not good.
And that's not good either, right? So in a way, we ourselves, like maybe it's not good being pregnant and then starting the cold whilst you're pregnant, you know? If you've been doing the cold and you understand how much it gives you and you know how to regulate your body and you know that it gives you a lot of good feeling and you know that it's not, you know, maybe you can make the choice for yourself that is something, you know, is something to do.
Yeah, facts and good point as well. But is there some contraindicators like for the cold, like?
Yeah, there are. I mean, like if you have like some heart issues, of course, because they can, you know, it does raise the heart rate like this, and it can actually pour, you know, those stress hormones can raise the heart rate a lot more.
Yeah.
Also, like if you have like this schizophrenia, it's also a bit the same with breathing too. Schizophrenia, these kind of things that might, or some epilepsy.
So are you saying like if you have schizophrenia, don't breathe?
In a certain way, don't breathe in a certain way. Maybe more like this hyperventilation.
Yeah,
that's where it ties in with the cold.
Start to make rushing more.
Yeah, that's where it ties into the cold, because a lot of people, it can be that you're like experiencing this, like even experience ice dippers. You know, winter swimmers. So that's where it plugs into there. Again, a lot of these, where are they informed by these things though, you know? In the case of the pregnancy, it's because like ultimately nobody wants to take responsibility for anyone in a sense. Now as a facilitator, we take responsibility, you know? We take responsibility for the group, we take responsibility for the people, of course, but at the same time, it's like to protect ourselves and to not invite risk taking in a high level. Of course, we're saying we advise strongly not to do, if you're pregnant, not to do cold, or even do like very, very long breath holds in breathing. You know, we're advising this as well. Now, are we saying that people never do that? Are we saying people do it frequently? No, of course they're often doing those kind of things, but that's because they're informed. It's because they probably have some kind of pre-training. They've been maybe doing it for so long, and they feel like if you took that away, it would be a negative more than a positive, you know. But ultimately, it's really there's definitely people out there that are saying, hey, still go, like you can still do it, you know, and maybe you should do it. There's still people that are really like this. And I think that's a little bit like irresponsible on some level, because you have to, it always comes down to the individual and taking personal responsibility for that. Knowing yourself, knowing your experience, and doing things gradually as well, not jumping in. If you have a heart issue, you shouldn't, you know, in a way, the best sauna studies are saying that actually you will live longer if you do more sauna. But according to the science, in a way, the cold and the sauna will actually get your heart rate up. And in many cases, if you stay in the sauna past like the 15, 16, 17 minute mark, like all those, the best sauna studies are kind of suggesting.
But then you release all those good things like with that time.
That too. But then like, you know, if you have a heart issue and you're going to the sauna because you know that that's healthy and you've looked at those studies and say, hey, wow, I need to go to the sauna like more often.
Yeah,
Like
I got it.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's very comparable thing, but apparently the cold has more risk compared to the like people get it for the sauna.
Yeah,
There's not the same contraindicators in a sense for the sauna than there is for the cold even.
yeah, and it's interesting. We have this culture of sauna here in Finland, and there is a lot of like studies and the health benefits of cold and hot. They both has themselves as well.
Many of them the same.
Yeah.
Many of them are actually mirroring each other with some slight iterations.
What I have been trying to do with these, when we are a little bit on this topic, I have been like I was telling, like when I started to make my cold lake routines and getting into that, it was both sauna and cold. So connecting those, but nowadays I prefer to do like my cold, just cold. I always go without sauna in the morning to the cold, and then I kind of warm up myself up with movement and to start the day or walking. It can be any ways, but that's kind of like the way, and then separate the sauna and get kind of like the whole benefits from the sauna as well.
Perfect.
But doing together the cold and sauna, this is this is like what you have been saying. This word, like it's more this social thing, and I agree that's why I'm speaking about that as well. And the thing is like I love that as well. But like now, it's getting the cold season. So are you excited for that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, you know, someone sent me a message and said, hey, we got to get the cold season going on again or whatever. I'm like, huh? It's like, in a way, it never stops.
Yeah, exactly.
Been going to the Baltic Sea all the way through, you know, all through the jellyfish season. We just there was all the jellyfish in the Baltic Sea.
Yeah.
And then there was the TILAA, you know, these little fish, like huge schools of those around. So we know that those fish come first, then the medusa comes.
Yeah.
And then after that, we know that the season's on.
Yeah. And like the, you know, and like the episode is coming like the 8th October out. So now it's really good for the listeners. It's really good time to, if you have been thinking to cold exposure, now it will be great time to start to go there, because like it's not still ice lake style, but now it's like good time to start to get to used to that kind of cold temperature and
12
how
or
to
13
handle.
degrees
Yeah.
in the Baltic Sea
Yeah.
at the moment. Yeah.
So it's like I was thinking to go this morning already to cold. I just take cold shower, but the cold shower, this is as well great way to
absolutely
start to learn how to be with the cold as well. And the winter starts to become very beautiful when the cold becomes the friend in the way. Like many times we are fighting against the cold, like, oh, it's cold or something like that. Oh, it's like the weather, like where we start about talking about the Finland and how is here the things. But like for me as well, I was like against in the winter in the way, like, oh, get this kaamos, masennus and this. But now, like many years already, I have been loving the winter. I have been enjoying that. And now even more when it comes to cold. And for me, the cold has been like that kind of sunshine. and to go into nature morning, this is beautiful, like when you go into the lake and you see the sun. If like in the winter, it's not always like, but when you see the sun on the winter, it's kind of like, oh, it feels so good, like, and being on the cold water, and it feels like you're in the hot tub, like, or like this.
Well, the fact of the matter is that if you go in the morning, even if you can't see the sun, the light is still coming on some level, and your circadian rhythm, let's say, is like tuning into that. Exactly. And it's already going to help you get better sleep throughout the winter, which we know is a bit of an issue because of it does get a bit dark here in the winter, and it doesn't have this feeling of light, 3 or 4 or 5 hours of where it's just kind of like daylight-ish.
Yeah.
you know, but it's definitely a good benefit. And if you think about it, if you actually go into a lake, especially if it's shallow, especially if you can stand up there, you know, you have your feet on the ground, your bare feet in the mud or on the ground, you know, whatever's on the bottom. You have the light activating your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
You have the connection with the water itself. You have the fresh air. You have the fire within. Let's say all the elements, get all the elements in there. But like, this is a great way to be, you know, to be grounded, to like really kind of like give yourself this kind of moment in the day. And the fact of the matter is that like we in Finland, we wearing shoes all throughout the winter mainly, unless we're in the sauna or at home maybe or something. We don't get out so much. We have a lot of the skin covered in the, a lot of people only have this much skin being shown, gloves on, everything like this. It's really important to get out and kind of be part of the seasons, you know?
Yeah. I got some jokes on my mind, but
let them fly.
I was just like, are you saying we need to go and take the sun like in every place?
Well, you know,
because there's so many these things like when it comes like into the biohacking field or something this.
Yeah.
So there is some extreme things as well.
Every ice hole.
But there is extreme things in every area of life. And one thing what I want to as well topic here is that like there's many ways to do things. And there's always many times we maybe do alone things, but then it's if there is there's teachers as well who can help you to kind of get you on the track. But there is as well like teachers who maybe can get you on the wrong track as well. So this is, I just want to say this because if there's listeners who really are interested about the cold, this is the guy. This is the guy to learn from, and from you I have been learning a lot, and I love how you connect with the many parts of the cold and this, and always I love to learn more, and you're the guy. And just saying before we gonna go a little bit go forward in this is like you're making these retreats, these ice diving retreats, or how you call this retreat?
Yeah, I mean, like I do cold events. Some of them don't involve, you don't have to go straight into the ice diving, which is like almost like a free diving experience from one hole to another. But there are people coming from around the world, from within Europe, that really love that, you know, because of course, you know, they have gotten some experience. They're down the path where they've done it, they've gone consistently over the course of time. They're like, okay, what else is there? Oh, hey, let's go to Finland and actually go under the ice. Yeah. So yeah, doing those things for sure. And this year doing a little bit more with just the sort of like entry, if you want to call it like entry level stuff.
That's
so
cool.
People can learn the benefits, understand how to do it.
That's
do
amazing.
it with a bit of support as well. And eventually if they feel like the calling, then of course they can come and do this.
Like saying just like people as well who have been going into the cold and you want to take it to the next level. Leigh is making these retreats where you can get a lot of information, but mostly the experience as well and how to do it and find your way to do it as well. And as well, like I have experienced this ice diving. That's next level, because when you're like thinking even to go under the ice, everything says no. Like everything is saying like no, don't
Except for me, I'm like yes. No.
But like first time, it's like before you really know what it is, it's like everything just rushing inside and kind of like wow. And but the thing what I experienced with you was this safety. There is safety. There's safety. These
safety divers.
Divers,
yeah. Safety ropes.
And you're taking care of everything. So it's professional way to do. And this is something what I get horrified when I see some videos in the
TikTok
Instagram or TikTok when there's some people diving under the ice and there's no ropes, there's no anything, and this is dangerous. That's like no play around. Don't do it by yourself. But just I wanted to say that like if you want to take it to the next level, Lee's what's the website?
On my
it's on
LeighEwin.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can find it there.
I appreciate you saying that. And then also I would add that, you know, we've been talking a lot about meditation of the cold, right? And the idea of like going there and in a way, like meditation can be a very internal experience, but in a way we're sort of like away from the external in some way. And what going fully under the water gives is that like you must be present inside your body as you're under there.
Exactly.
And this is sort of like the little hidden gift inside of that practice. You know, you felt it, others feel it. I mean, that's what kept me going back there. This kind of understanding inside where I not only can I do this, like, yeah, this is I'm proud of myself for doing this, but like really being inside of this situation or experience and being fully like aware of what you're doing, like being able to trust yourself again, being able to be like in kind of like quite good command of what's going on as you're going under. Of course, the first time you want to kind of like make sure you can do it and all that. But what happens is people slow down and they take more time underneath, and then they really look around and they're understanding that they're inside of their own body.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when people are doing the ice baths and things, they're kind of like, you can see they're like, and they're just sort of like, they're really with the breath, which is a beautiful thing, but they're a little bit like outside of the body in a way. They're kind of trying to escape or be somewhere else.
Good way to say it.
Whereas going under, and in some cases being in just the normal avanto as well, can be a very inner body experience when you're inviting these sensations.
This like when I first time did go under the ice, this was like one memory what I will be always remember. This was like extremely beautiful thing to do and experience as well, and it's kind of like same like trying to explain what is sound healing. It's like when you go to the under the water. But maybe it's easier to explain that because it's like you become so primitive. Like when you go on the ice cold water and you dive under the ice, it takes you into the core of you, into the primitive you. You're holding your breath and you kind of go in there. But like you said, when you do it like second time or then you start to understand like the capacity what you have, like, and that was kind of like my first time. I was like, oh, I'm capable to do these things. So the main thing, like when you're going into the cold as well, is breathing and controlling your breath as well, because that's kind of like the key to control your any energy what you are inside or everything you can control with the breath. You can slow down your breath and you start to calm down. Or if you start to make more, taking more in, you start to activate as well. Or if you start to make more speed, it start to activate and start to warm and like this.
Yeah.
So there's as well like nice story behind this on your life. How did you find the power of your own breath? So was it hard to sit down and meditate in some point of your life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Of course it was. Like, you know, like we're human, you know, we're, you know, emotions and feelings are like a very, very interesting kind of invention from the body, right? In essence, these reactions are kind of like our nervous system being able to give us very quick possibility to move to or away from certain things, right? That's basically what they are. And so we're kind of guided a lot by the feelings. And if the feeling's strong enough, then of course it makes us move to or from the thing. And so, yeah, of course, like for me, like I literally found breathing from the cold, right? Like it was like being inside of there. That was the ultimate teacher. It was the ultimate teacher to be like, okay, I have to breathe like I want to be here. If I breathe like I don't want to be there, then what's the kind of idea? Like if you're laying down in bed, you're not like, because that's kind of like breathing like you're running or being somewhere else. So it's vice versa. When you're in the cold, like if you're like huffing and puffing away, you're kind of like imitating running or fighting something anyway. So yeah, I mean that was the. I mean, do you want me to tell like the full story? I mean, like
however you feel like.
I mean, in a nutshell, it was like my colleagues. You know, my colleagues. Some people know this story, so I checked on that one. Like, if you want to go there, but in a kind of simple way, I went to the Christmas party from the company. You know, I was that guy way back in the day where I had the box of beer, walking towards we're in Nuuksio actually, and walking towards the beautiful Mökki, the cottage there, and then everybody's having a good time. The sauna's ready. Okay, let's go to the sauna. And then at some point, you know, there's obviously a frozen lake there, but I never once thought like, you know, it's a frozen lake. Okay, Aussie, you've got to go into the cold. Huh? What? Yeah. Let's go. And then everyone goes and gets their phones, takes the picture, like they want to take a video of this. So I go in there. Yeah, of course. Really, like to get
happy for that
my
as
memory.
Well.
So going there, and then of course, you know, like, you saw the video. It's like very quickly. And that's it. I'm running back to the sauna and everyone's like talking about it for a few months. Everyone's looking at the phone. Hey, look, pause here. Look at your face here. And look at your... Okay, cool. You know, about a year later, I realized, you know what? I think they're going to do something similar again, which means get the cottage, rent a cottage in the wintertime, in the Christmas time, and we're going to go there again. And they're probably going to ask me after the sauna to go to the cold. And yeah, they did it. This time it was maybe 6 seconds, a little bit longer. I did myself a little bit more proud. But, you know, still the video, still the sort of like a bit humiliation in some way, you know, like this, you know, like they just wanted to remind me. Next year I was like, okay, you know what, September, October, whatever, something around that, when the season started to turn, I was like, you know, I'm going to go. I'm just going to go. 2 more bus stops from where our company office was. It was just 2 more, and it was at the Baltic Sea. I went down there. I started going. There was no ice there. It was just the cold water. Yeah. You know, 10, like 14, 12, 10. Yeah. And as the season progressed, there was a little thin lace of ice on the top. Moving that away, then a little bit more ice, then a bit more. Then I was like, okay, we've got to keep this open now. Yeah. But by the time the December came, I was a little bit more like felt like I was ready for it. So we go to not the same cottage, different cottage. They at least have some creativity, a little bit like, you know, different location. Went there, but this time I was a little bit more like, hey, well, like, maybe I even suggested like, hey, we're going to go to the cold again? Oh yeah, we're going to go to the cold. Yeah, don't you worry. And then I went there and everything had changed. I was more confident. I was like, and they noticed I was still. They noticed I wasn't like moving about. They noticed that something had changed. And that's when I got to see them. I got to see them with the cameras there like, oh, like this. Something had changed. And now that the tables have turned to the point where they needed to go in and maybe even beat me, go more than 1 minute or something. Yeah. And so this felt like I had arrived in Finland on some level, you know? Yeah, something had changed and I was, hey, I felt proud of myself in a way. I felt like I had landed it here in Finland. But then at the same time, I realized that somehow this process, this breathing, this whole thing, it kind of brought me in towards myself again. You know, there was a lot of things I couldn't control about my early year or two of Finland. You know, the relationship had failed. You know, at the time I didn't have I had work at that time, but it wasn't certain if I was going to remain working. The studies were ongoing. I didn't know exactly how everything was going to land. I was living essentially a student life where all my friends had been doing, you know, they have families and all that kind of thing. So through the cold, it actually gave me this self-confidence and self-belief again. But then also, as you had said as well, I mean, it gives you this kind of boost. It gives you this something to look forward to. And instead of like being that, like in hibernation for the winter, in actual fact, I just wanted to get out there and also get out of the bed and start the day.
Yeah. And kind of like the thing with the cold. So how did you find with the cold your breath?
Well, I mean, you know, that was the number one thing. It really takes the breath away. It really takes the breath away. And like the really interesting part was like it just took me a little bit of time after those initial experiences and kind of like doing it for that reason of like, hey, I'm going to prove these guys wrong. I'm going to prove them that I can do it. When I stopped doing the cold after that, I said, okay, mission accomplished, right? It was a business proposition. It was like, I need to perform. I need to do it. I'm going to prove them, you know, I'm going to earn my way or whatever you want to say. As soon as I stopped doing that, I said, okay, I've done it now. I did what I wanted to achieve here. Something actually felt like it was missing. It felt like I'm going to go cold again.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go back. I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And then through that continuance of that, I started to understand that when I'm there, how am I actually breathing? I feel calm. I feel relaxed. I can actually take that with me wherever I'm going. My next meeting after that, after I heat up and warm up again, you know, is good. My when I'm talking with my friends or whatever I'm doing, like I actually feel more myself. And that was a really important thing for me, because in those early years of being here in Finland, I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was kind of like trying to look around me and look for examples of how to be here in Finland. There wasn't so many other Australians around that I knew. So I was kind of getting a lot of my information from my Finnish friends at the time, and a lot of those colleagues as well that were arguably doing a little bit toxic kind of thing around it. So I was like a little bit mirroring my like, how do I actually exist here in Finland? And for me, it just found that was my thing. That was my thing to do. And that really was a blessing in disguise, because that led me towards the breath. And a short time after that, I started to like really start understanding the breathing and exploring the different techniques and methods and things of that nature. And then ultimately, I often say that I first meditated when I was doing the breathing, you know, like when I went deep in the breathing the first time or something like that. But in actual fact, I probably first meditated when I was in the cold, you know?
Yeah.
And that was a realization I had later on. I was like, well, the first time I got breathing, I mean, that's like the first. But in a way, it was like really looking back, it was most likely, even though it didn't feel like a meditation.
Yeah.
Like it just felt like I was, well, what is a meditation? What is it really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like, because like I don't use anymore even the word meditation.
Yeah.
It's like what I use. It's like sitting with myself.
Yes.
Or something like this. And like even the meditation, some words can, you know, like words have, this is,
Uh-oh.
But
I'm ready. I've got it.
Yeah, this why we're laughing now. Maybe everybody understands this. Maybe not this episode, but next episode when we for sure we're gonna because now we're touching so much on the surface things and get to know who you are before we
gonna. Let me defend myself. I want to defend my meditation. No.
And to get to know you.
Yeah.
Before we start to dive a little bit more on the deeper realms where we usually...
Can we touch on it though?
Yeah, for sure.
Can we touch on the word meditation, right?
Yeah, we can touch that.
Yeah.
And just like I finished like the meditation, it can tell us something what we have read from magazine, like media, or somebody have told me, or you have seen some meditation clip or something. This is the way to do it. But it can mean so many different things. But what it means to you?
Yeah. So it's funny because you even said in the media just now too.
Yeah.
You know? So the word medi is is in a way the middle point. Right? So medium. It's not small, it's not large. It's medium, middle in a sense. Medium strip, when we drive down the road, like there's traffic going both ways. That's called the medium strip, which separates the both sides. So medieval means in between these times as well. Media, it's an outlet that communicates between two parties. So in a way, meditation could exactly mean the medium point between the body and the mind.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah. So that's the only I won't go any further. But we could potentially, but that's in a way that resonate with me a lot.
Yeah.
That meaning of the word in a sense, because I love also, don't get me wrong, sitting with the self, it feels more the correct way to say it. But to understand where the origins of meditation come from and those words, that's likely where it has been constructed in some way.
Yeah.
But sitting with the self, you get a lot of opportunity to do that here in Finland.
Yeah.
Especially on the bus, especially.
You have many opportunities.
Yeah.
You can be, for sure, nobody is coming to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's the usual case. But yeah, like with the words and these, because that's like a whole another topic, and I think we're gonna dive with that as well, and with your book as well, because in this your book, Respiritual Awakening, this was kind of there's a lot of, we're gonna dive with the words and these, but I wanna read that book as well first, and then we're gonna dive more into this and kind of it's always nice to talk about the words things and this, because we are a little bit looking in the different ways and then seeing how everything is connected when we start to talk about the things, and the words are powerful, and like the English language is like coded language, which is there's many things I'm studying this now more and more. So I can explain it in correct way in some day better, but there is so many like this when you say meditation, medium, and these it start to flow to my mind as well. These all the different words what has the me in it, meaning, medicine.
Well, meaning, what is the meaning of this? And then being mean to someone.
Yeah.
You know? A lot of them are in a way so cross-contaminated and have carry these different meanings. So it's interesting. And then as to your point, the words and languages are coded, but are we aware of those or not? And that's the thing. Yeah. Are we giving? We're still giving energy to the words. We're still giving energy to them. But do we know it or not? That's the ultimate question.
Yeah, and on my belief, it's kind of my experience is that we are unconsciously using kind of words what we don't always even understand how some word can have some other meaning behind that. And this is kind of what I have been studying with the words is there's everything is connected, with the numbers and with the words, and kind of in English language have been there's so many signs that how the numbers and the words are connected, and how specifically the English language is kind of this kind of super like spelling. like casting spell. You're spelling. So you're making that kind of that's like the power of the words. Like when we say something, this is super powerful.
Yeah, and like pretty much every word you say, like even casting the spell is like cast means to throw out. So the same way you cast the fishing line out there.
Exactly.
You cast a spell. You know. It's very interesting, and it can be like rabbit hole after rabbit hole. But like ultimately, I like this. I like to give like meaning's a great word to me. It means a lot to me because I want to give meaning and purpose to like everything I do, or as much of the things that I do in life as I can. I want to give it this purpose.
Yeah.
You know. And that helps guide always. So knowing how to speak with people and knowing a lot of this comes from the facilitation. Like I know that you're amazing with the language you use in the sessions that you're doing, the sound healing sessions, because, you know, if you're nervous or if you're sort of like maybe unsure or don't have a level of confidence, you want to say more. You want to like give more, like, you know, to kind of fill it up and give, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
You know, kind of like you can hide your insecurity within all these words and sentences and everything like this. But actually, a lot of the time, the meaning comes from when it's not said that much.
Exactly.
Like I love you. If you hear that like all the time, every day, all the time, of course it means something. But like if you don't hear it so often, when it does come, you're like, oh man, like it can like. That can be the one that gives you this like amazing feeling. Yeah,
and as well, like it just came to my mind like when we have been talking about the spirituality and this. So what I have been seeing as well, like in the spiritual scene, is like there's some, you know, for myself as well. I for sure I have been one of these people who have been speaking these beautiful words without understanding what they truly mean. And kind of like, for me, it's like, it goes like with the words, it goes behind the words. What is behind the word? What is the message behind the words? And with listening, somebody's telling story for us. And we both hear it in our own way because we have our own path to this point, and through our own path we reflect that story, and that's why we hear it in specific way, and I think we now we are.
It's hard.
We are getting into it, you know.
But that's also the thing, right? Like I know that you're very similar to me in that way. That you're also seeking the meaning and the purpose in all that you do, and then it's in a way difficult at some time to kind of like pull back. And that's our work, to be able to like not to spend so much time under the microscope inside of the thing, but to also like to see it from the satellite view as well. Sometimes like knowing enough of something is okay too, you know? Yeah. And then in some moments to jump in, to like dive into the depths of the Avanta or whatever.
Depths of the world. But yeah, do you have this kind of like your book is spiritual awakening, and we're gonna touch this next time when we're gonna talk what is the spiritual awakening. But have you had this kind of spiritual awakening in your life?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like it's also a very interesting question because of the meaning topic. Like what actually is the spiritual awakening, right? So without really trying to go there like that, to save something for next time as well. In the classic sense of what a spiritual awakening has been, you know, signifies to somebody, yeah, I would say so. I would absolutely believe. I know so.
How did you have this awakening? What was happening?
I can't help it by say it was the breath. It was breathing.
That was kind of like what year it was like when you
What year? It was prior to going. Like I was exploring the breath. I was really exploring breath work, and at the same time, I knew that I couldn't just keep going. I had to actually like come back inside of myself, into my body, all those things. So I was like trying to make the breath work, like really trying to make the breath work for me. You see the wordplay, but then like, but in actuality, it was the opposite way. I needed to let it work for me or with me, and I went. It's one session where I just breathing heavily, and I don't agree with a lot of the stuff out there at the moment. People like Wim Hof and these like some years later, everyone starts to like feel they know more than him and all this, and they start to a little bit shit on him and stuff. I don't agree with that kind of thing. I think we need everything have its place, and a lot of people like myself included really entered the breathwork space through his exposure, his opening up of that topic, let's say. But like I didn't necessarily like the way he did the breathwork, and I felt it was like super pushing and forcing, and that I'm good at that. At that point in time, I was like, that was the problem. I was only good at doing that. So when I decided to do it my own way, here's the lesson, right? Do it your own way. Do it how you feel. I knew the technique, the practice itself, but actually when I did it my own style and listened to myself, then that's when I've just got it. I actually got why this works, and I understood why people are talking about this. But then also, I mean, it cracked me open. I was tears. I felt like super connected with myself. Yeah. Obviously, I felt like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is actually what I want to do for the rest of my life. I mean, I want to breathe the rest of my life, obviously, and I want to do these practices. But like this is where I want to be. I want to help share that with people.
Yeah, it's true. Like many people, they just copy everything. Like there's someone who is teaching something, and then other people, not something, I copy, you copy, everybody is copying. We are monkeys, monkey see, monkey do. But like this, when you were talking about this Wim Hof and how some people are now saying, I don't remember that word, but like not respecting, and this is one important thing what I have learned in life, and like for me, I have always respected older people, but when it comes to teachers or like this, I think it's super important that we pay homage. Yeah. Like we tell who have been teaching us, and we pay that homage to have that kind of respect. And I think like the respect is important thing when it comes like in this kind of somebody's teaching you something, you copy and you use it and you think you know even more. I think that's like ridiculous.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a way that's the double-edged sword of science. Because if you ask any yogi, like certain breathwork practices from pranayama, it's like literally explaining and telling you what it's doing. Nadi Shodhan, alternate nostril breathing, rinsing. It's kind of like skull rinse, skull cleanse. And we know it does. It kind of cleanses up the sinus area and allows you to breathe. That's why we do the practice. But of course, we monkeys, as you just said before, see, monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
So, we want to understand more, but like how much science is enough in a sense, the more scientific studies we study, we understand, we try and figure out what it means and how that affects things. It builds a confidence in people. And of course, that's what science does, right? It's kind of like a repeatable, sort of measurable, in a way, like a benchmark that we're trying to adhere to or kind of guided by in some ways. We can understand ourselves and our biology and whatever else from science. But then that kind of pads up somebody's understanding to a certain level where they're like, hey, someone like Wim Hof, he might not be like, he talks about the science, he talks about those things, but like he's not leading with that in a sense, right? And then that gives people some kind of level of confidence where they're like, they feel like they're above and beyond. And in some audiences, in some crowds, yeah, it might be true that is held higher than the experiential kind of feeling side of things. And that's cool. That's fine. But like, you know, that's not the only thing either. We have to understand this duality. We have to, this is just my opinion of this thing, but I encourage people to go with the feeling. Like Wim Hof is a great person of saying, I think he even said at some point, like, feeling is understanding. The feeling is the understanding. And if you really narrow it down, and if it was maybe even a different character saying that, a lot of people, maybe like a lot more people potentially, might even be like, hey, that's the thing. That's a great saying. But because it's Wim, because he's like, go, 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 because he's like, oh, come on, breathe one more time. And then
those
like
words get kind of under that.
Yeah, and people like, come on, us guys, and a lot of, now I'm just going to throw the guys in here, especially facilitators of breath work and cold and things like that, those kind of sessions. We are the, who's getting into the breathing without Wim Hof? What percentage of people aren't like, their entry point isn't through Wim Hof? You know, there's also this oxygen advantage too, right? Which is the opposite of that, is leading with the science, going with the science. And even now people are, the more studies that are being made and looked at through nasal breathing and things like of that nature, now people are kind of questioning the oxygen advantage and the certain measurement tools that they use there to understand how well off somebody's breathing is, you know? But it's like, where are those studies coming from? The studies that you're using to discredit Wim or the oxygen advantage, they're being made and done because of those people.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the thing, yeah.
So exactly, I agree with you 100% about the paying homage to those before us who have been paving the way. People, it's weird because people get it. Maybe in a few decades remain, you know, maybe it needs to pass the test of time.
Yeah.
But people understand it from the different yogis. Rumi, you know, spiritual leaders from different parts of the world that have been there for decades and decades, hundreds of years even in many cases. People respect it and understood it then with less science, with practically no science in a sense. So it's really interesting where we are right now, because the things that are, the science is in a way pushing the envelope a lot, and that's a great thing. We get in-depth information, and we get to understand more and more and more. But you know, the next science is always coming too. So where do we kind of like, where does it land in some way? What's enough?
Yeah. And this is like nice you were talking about this as well. We have been part of the biohacker scene as well, and we have been on the biohacker retreats, and you have been speaking many times as well on the biohacker summit, and I have had the chance to be there and performing as well. But
holidays,
but this like the thing with the biohacking and what, like many times, like there is like so much these technologic things and how to measure things and all these, but I think we both have this way to approach that thing as well, to bring that experience and kind of how much knowledge you can get from the experience, and like you can read the books, and I was touching a little bit this before, like people can read beautiful books and then they
mine maybe, or
yeah exactly
hopefully
and then start to talk about these beautiful words like without even understanding what it means behind that word, or and as well, like there's so much like wrong information as well. So what is like the right information? I think like that comes from experience and from testing. But yeah, like the experience, like there's so much like science and like this and like like we are going so much like into our heads and living there and not connecting with ourselves and the source is here. The source is inside of us.
Authenticity, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the word that just comes screaming at me just now. I mean, like you were saying, if you're replicating and just like going and going, like, you know, repeating, that's a little bit like, in a way, it's weird to me, that whole thing, because it's like guru thinking in a sense. Okay, you got to copy, and then this is the way to do it. But then at the same time, discrediting the guru. It's kind of like there's like two negatives there. It's weird. It's a weird phenomenon, and that's definitely happening. But then also, I think this stuff is driven a lot by the media and the social media in particular, because we know that a negative thing gets more attention. You know, it gets more people talking, because then people that see it's obviously negative, they want to weigh in and prove that no, but it's actually a positive thing. So it's a sad thing, because like you're not negative. Like if there's one word that I would not use for you, it's negative. Like you're always super positive person. You're always leading with this smile and happiness, and unfortunately, that's finishing second nowadays because of this. You know, and so I see a lot of the people out there. You know. You only have to look out there. You only have to scroll a few times or press, you know, follow the algorithms a little bit, and you start to see it popping up all over the place, that the negativity and talking about the Wim Hof, for example. You know, Wim Hof has millions of 4 or 5 million followers or whatever it is on social media, on Instagram, and you're still using the guy's name in a negative way to boost your audience by like shitting on the guy's name, you know? That's weird to me. That's not a respectful way of doing the thing, especially when you can clearly see that these particular characters or people wouldn't have probably, you know, it's very unlikely that they would have gotten into breathwork or cold exposure without him, you know, without him paving the way on some level. Now you can definitely make an argument saying that, you know, the cold exposure or breathing, we know a lot more about it, and that's fine. But let's just say that that's what it is. We know, hey, Wim said this, but guess what? Yes, and this. Yeah. Not, hey, Wim, but that.
Yeah.
There's different energy behind that.
Yeah, and I see like this brings me into like great teachers are those who can. Like topic can be anything, but I give you this image like great teacher teach you how you build up your own this lamp, how you can torch. It lamp
torch, yeah?
Torch lamp.
Yeah, the torch.
So you learn how to build it, and then it's your mission to start to use it and look the different ways that your teacher maybe didn't look. Because
to shine in new ways.
Exactly, and illuminate but like there's one person and the capability of one person is limited. So like the teachers they have this one way. They maybe have like many teachers before and to get that mentoring and kind of that, but they are teaching like that you start to navigate and in that point you start to bring something new into the table, somewhere where your teacher didn't know to look or wasn't not professional on the startup companies or something like that, you know, like this. But I see like that's like the thing with the great teachers, like they teach you how to kind of understand yourself and then come confident with yourself, and then you start to not like need to follow someone else, but follow yourself.
I 100% agree. I feel this. I would also add to this that this touches on this philosophical view as well that I have a slight infatuation for, and that's like this philosophy of reversibility, in a sense. reversibility is where sort of like, for example, someone painting a landscape. They're sitting there watching a forest, and they're painting and watching the tree and the. At some point in that process or relationship or whatever's going on, who's watching who? The forest and that scene is watching the artist, and the artist is watching the scene, the landscape, you know? So there's this reversibility, there's this kind of relationship between the two. And I think this is the same thing. It's almost, again, one of these cliche things that like every teacher is, the best teachers are always the ones that are lifetime students. They're willing to hear. Like, this is something I observe in you a lot as well. You're a fantastic listener. And I know that you, like, in a way, you have even developed that even more recently since I've known you. In the last 18, 24 months especially, I've noticed that you have been able to have this, like, embodiment of this reversibility and, like, listening as well. You have a lot of amazing things to say, and I'm thankful I'm one of those people that get to hear a lot of those things. But also one of your skills and something you have crafted a lot is definitely your listening skills, your active listening skills. So it's not just like passive listening, like, oh yeah, okay, someone's talking at me, blah, 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 but like receiving things, computing those, putting it through the, you know, your own feelings, your own emotional thing, and then being able to say, hey, this is the thing. This is like a real, like a trademark of a leader in some way, not some way, you know, in the way, but then also somebody who is like embodied this this teacher role in a sense, because as you know, when we're facilitating a session, we're completely learning the whole time. We're learning always. We're trying to share and facilitate something and give something of ourselves, but we're also receiving something back and forth. So this is why I like this philosophy of reversibility, because it really is a reflection.
Yeah,
we've been talking a lot about reflections recently ourselves.
Yeah, I like this word, and diving to that as well, because that brings me so many things as well onto the mind. But to say like the thing, like we were touching a little bit like the Wim Hof, but this can, I tell my own experience, you know, with the sound healing. When I started to practice sound healing, and specifically when I started to come public with the sound healing, meaning that I started to create the events and hold the sessions for people, that people can come into my session and then I, you know, from where I started, like 2016, I started to make this regularity sound healing concerts. So when I start, I was kind of on learning. I'm still learning. Every time I make session, I'm giving my 110 and learning from the process as well. And every time, because it's just like I was telling this, like I cannot do anything like halfway. It's 100 or not, because like I could not just do it without that. But the thing what I wanted to say is, like, when I started to do this and I started to speak about sound healing, äänihoito, and people were like, huh? What? Is it like some massage to the mouth or something?
That too.
and you know, I was there were not much people doing even with the Tibetan bowls, specifically doing with the gongs or something what I am doing, but it was like interesting to see, and I had like this mission as well to kind of, how you call this, when
like pave the way,
like
break
paint
through.
Kind of creating the way for this word even to land in Finland, that sound healing, äänihoito, and quick forward to this day. Now there is so many sound healers, you know, and there is and I'm happy about it. I'm very happy about it, and from my journey as well, I have seen these moments when somebody have copied everything from my website, you know, and post it into their website or my event or my event name or something, and just copied that and put it in the own and not kind of like paying homage to me that I have created that text and like this. I'm not like
it happens a lot. Hey, it happens a lot. It happen like think of it like I have seen this happen with me too, because like I really for sure was you know, and I say this as just factually. It's not like a you know, to pump myself up or anything, but like for sure, like I was the first Wim Hof instructor as a point of reference from not only Finland but of Australia.
Yeah.
And then of course it's you know, then there's a wave after that, and you know, of course I feel like I give some attention and some rise to this on some level, but also that's part of my mission, like you, right? We're trying to bring that. Like there's only so many people you can share the sound healing with on any one session or day or lifetime maybe even too, you know? So of course that's kind of part of the message and part of the work. So, you know, we're you more than anyone is aware of that, of course. But at some point that my work with inside of that was like, hey, I got this is my work now to work on myself. Because I saw those things happening too. Think about it too. Like I'm Australian doing all my contents in English. So it's easy to grab that and translate it to Finnish.
Yeah,
no problems. In a sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is for sure happening, right? And it's okay. Well, at least at the time, I'll be honest, I didn't think it. I was like, I went into more this defensive posture about it. You know, I was like, oh no, if somebody's, they're stealing from me and it's away from me. It was more like, it wasn't from the good old abundance perspective. Like, hey, we're all winning here. The word is getting out here.
Exactly.
It was scarcity. It was like something's removed from me or getting taken away from me. And in a way that felt very compressing, and it felt like I was going back in here. Eventually, my journey for that personally, you know, I don't know if there's anything comparable or not from the stories, but I had to do the work inside and be like, hey, release from the ego, forget the ego. Connect with your true mission. What is that? Why are you doing this? You want other people to feel as good as you did when you did the breathing. You want other people to feel as good as you feel when you go to the cold.
Yeah.
And I know that's the same with you as well. But, you know, the good thing is that we all have like authenticity shows, you know, and experience shows and all of those things. They are kind of, if you know, you know. So, but for me, it was like a great teaching or learning experience. Like the best teachers are the ones that can reflect and see those things about themselves and make the shift, make the adjustments and be okay with that, you know, and be not only okay with it, but like even supporting that.
Yeah. For me, it like I was like the point what I was explaining as well, like was the thing like when I start to make these things and then like some people copy my event text and put it on the website and this. And when I see this, like of course I go say like, hey, you cannot do that. Yeah. Like you cannot just go and copy someone's text and just use it and in some cases like where I rent my places, one guy rent the same place and came to with the same name on the same place like sound healing, and I was in that. I was like, and I know this guy, and I was like, hey, why you do this? But the thing, what it in the end, of course, I was like, and I have go through as well some of those moments, but then in the end, why I'm doing this, and kind of like that ego thing as well. But for me, it was like sign when people start to copy me. It was sign for me that I'm doing right. I'm kind of on the place where I started like making that kind of, what was the word?
Oh, paving the way.
We
just say paving the way. Yeah. It's like making the path.
It's great. We need to do more of this English because I want to improve my English as well.
I don't know. Your sign language is pretty good. Like,
but not maybe everybody is not watching this, so it's good to get the words there. As well.
Okay.
You know. Yeah.
But that's also the thing with, again, the negativity, right? Like, you know, like when you get your first haters, people that are like challenging and saying these things about you, and that kind of behavior, I can only take that as in a way, like a compliment on some level, right? Because if your work is meaningless, if it doesn't have any substance, if it's not affecting people, if it's not giving something, if it's not noteworthy, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
No one cares, because like you there's so many other things that you can go to the world of social media or Google or whatever, and you can just fill that time, that space with something else.
Yeah.
So if you're doing something correct, if you're doing something that is meaningful and has those qualities, then of course, at some point or another, you start to get the people coming in and saying, hey, shh, you know?
Yeah.
And they try and like tear you down a little bit.
Yeah. And I must say, like, as well, like we are doing together as well these sessions. So we have combined sound healing concert and breathworks. And this is something what I highly recommend to anyone and who is interested about sound healing or breathwork, or kind of like knowing yourself as well, because this is like kind of like next level events what we are creating together. And there will be like, let's see how when we have next episode, but for sure soon, because like I think like now we touched like the surface, and now we are ready to kind of dive deep and kind of go into more maybe like the spiritual occultist ways, and what we usually like to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, normal talking shit or whatever. No. Yeah.
But it's nice to as well like share those things what I like with you or some else friend, how like specifically how we have this connection and kind of share that with the people as well. And yeah.
What I like about this, right, is that like I don't know, like those things that I didn't know I wanted to talk about some of these things, right?
Yeah.
But we have done that, and that's why I value this, because we often find these topics where it's like, oh yeah, and it kind of like, maybe I feel that way too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So cool. So, is there something like on your heart what you would like to share? Or something what you have going through now, like, do you have some words of inspiration for people, or anything you wanna say?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's such a open subject for someone like me. I know you'd be the same if I ask you this, but maybe I will ask you this. No, you know, like this big kind of universal message in a sense. Like I feel like we don't say it enough. I feel like it's not seen or heard so much in society these days. This true kind of like we are one message, you know, this kind of universal message that we are connected. And I'm fortunate enough in some ways that I have a, I don't know, easy access point, but it's very graspable access point through the breath, through breathing. Like I'm very like privileged in some way, or honored in every way, to witness this and call people together and do this because I understand the strength and the power that we are bound by the breath. We are bound by the atmosphere itself, by the you know, here living in this existence together. And I feel like we're missing that a lot, even though it's still a cliche. We are one. We are, you know, all this sort of stuff. When you see what's going on in the world, when you see all these things, like people need people. We need each other now.
Yeah, we need each other.
And I think this is the thing. This just came to my mind, you know, like it's kind of always there, but it's not. Unfortunately, you know, it's not always on the top. We all have things going on. We all have, or you know, everyone's life is different. different responsibilities, different things happening. But I feel like bringing people together and the strength of ourselves together as the little gatherings of us monkeys getting together in the tribe. That's the thing. It's kind of like a rally call for this, I would say. This is it. This is all I want to say.
Yeah, and from my own way, like as well, finding my own happiness and wanted to share that. And I always hate being a little bit this hot blood in the way that I hate being interacting with people and hate being a little bit wild, but as well peaceful. But the thing, like what is like my core thing as well, to be kind to each other, because like we are here together, and we don't know what we are going through, like, and that's why like it's so important that we are paying attention how we act, how we speak to each other, how we, because like there's just small things can affect, like, and it's like domino effect. Like it's your choice in the way that are you kind to someone or not. And if someone is like unkind to you and kind of reflecting that maybe some bad feeling what someone is having and reflecting that into you, it comes to your responsibility to how you gonna act on that. Or are you gonna be affected on someone else bad feelings and then you take that bad feeling and you maybe get it back there and so on. That's infinite. Or you kind of stop in that moment, even it might hurt you and see kind of like, hey, he's might be going something, through as well. But I think our karma as well is to speak our truth and not take shit. No matter what is our size or anything like this, but this is our karma as well, to speak our truth and not then anyone to kind of, if something's happening wrong, we need to make that action as well. But like in Finland, like for myself, my attitude is as well, like if somebody is like asshole to me, like in the, like many times this happens in the when I'm driving somewhere and somebody is having bad day, I just make my line to somewhere or something and somebody pissed off.
I think it's that sticker on the back of your, that big sticker on the back of your van,
I was thinking, do I have some sticker there?
No.
But
maybe I arrange one. No.
I have some ideas for that. But then I think it like if I'm mean to this person, and I kind of make that action like being mean to someone, just like because I feel bad or something trigger or something, like I think it into this way, like, is this something what I want to put on forward? So I'm somebody is like asshole to me and I start to be mean to that, and even he start to feel even more anger, or it can be opposite. I'm just reflecting my bad feeling to someone else, and this someone is taking that, and okay, he or she drives home, and where that goes, it goes to the family. It maybe stays if it's alone. You just like it, take it in, or you go and you have your family and you kind of spread it to your children or something like this. And this is something what has been my kind of thing, to be kind to unkind as well, and kind of win with the kindness and kind of like always like we are reflecting our our inner worlds to the out.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel very much the same, and also, I think the responsibility comes there, right? You're talking about, if you had to put it in one kind of like word, in a sense, it's taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Take like your responsibility.
Yeah.
Ability to respond to something.
Retaking responsibility.
Yeah.
As many times it's needed.
Yeah, and as many things as needed.
Yeah. So it has been such a pleasure to talk with you. And I think we could just go. We need to have some like 5-hour episode. This is just what we have always this, like we can just keep going on. And I think like I have been repeating a little bit myself, but we just touched the surface. But I have one more question what I usually ask on this podcast for the people. Is there something, or what would you like to leave, like your handprint after you continue your journey from this life? Is there something what you want to leave, live in this world, or something what you want to impact? What is there? Do you want to bring some impact into this world or something like this? Hard to say this in English.
No, I got you. Yeah, I mean, honestly, my mission here is to help people find inspiration in life. That's for me, the inspiration is like this source of, like, it's this gold, you know? It's this gold, it's this fuel at the same time. And I think without that, we have no impact on our own creativity expression, you know, or expression as it were. And our passion doesn't show, doesn't get a chance to become alive, you know? So, you know, long story short, because this is a subject, you know, that I'm in love with actually, and I want to operate right there, and I hope to help people find that as often as they can, one breath at a time, and whatever else. But yeah, that's the goal. I want to help people find inspiration in their life, because with that, then that's a life worth living, in my opinion.
Thank you. And reminder for all the listeners, check out Leigh Ewin's new book, Respiritual Awakening. I cannot wait to get the hard copy on my hands and read and learn more from you. It was honor and pleasure to have you as my guest here, brother. And,
reversible. That is reversible. I'm feeling exactly the same as you. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much. And we keep continuing the practices. So thank you, listeners. Like and comment, what did this episode awaken in you, or did you get some inspirational message from this? And paljon rakkautta, much love there.
Oh.
Kiitos, että kuuntelit tämän jakson. Meillä oli aivan mielettömät keskustelut Leighin kanssa ja välillä saattaa lähteä rönsyille oikein isosti, mutta toivon mukaan tämä toi inspiraatiota sinne kylmäaltistukseen ja tutustumaan sinne oman hengityksen voimaan. Ja Leighin kanssa tullaan jatkamaan keskusteluja vielä uudemmassa jaksossa, missä sitten syvennytään hieman tähän hänen uutuuskirjaansa ja sinne sanojen merkityksiin, mikä on hyvin mielenkiintoinen maailma. Me myös järkätään Leighin kanssa näitä yhteistapahtumia, missä me yhdistetään äänihoitokonsertti ja hengitysharjoitukset. Ja näitä tapahtumia voi seurata mun verkkosivulta valonkädet.com sekä Leighin kaikkia kylmäaltistus- ja hengitysworkshoppeja leighewin.com. Haluan myös tässä vaiheessa muistuttaa, että koodilla Syvää henkeä saat alennusta kaikista Kääpämushroomsin sienituotteista heidän verkkokaupassaan sekä samalla tuet tätä podcastia. Nöyrin kiitos, että oot ollut mukana tässä matkassa. On lämmittänyt todella paljon sydäntä se vastaanotto tälle podcastille sekä ollut todella ilo kuulla teidän palautetta näistä podeista. Aina mulle saa laittaa viestiä ja jakaa palautetta, että mitä sä oot tykännyt tästä podcastista. On todella ilo kuulla niin kuin mielipiteitä ja saada palautetta. Iso kiitos teille kaikille, ketkä olette laittaneet myös Spotifyssa arvostelua. Se auttaa todella paljon saamaan tätä podcastia myös muiden kuultaviin. Voit tukea tätä podcastia tykkäämällä, kommentoimalla ja justiin tilaamalla kanavan ja Spotifyssa antamalla sen arvostelun. Kiitos. Seuraavassa jaksossa meillä tulee vieraaksi mun ystävä Ringa. Ja Ringa on häärännyt täällä ADHD-podcastin takana. Ja tullaan hieman puhumaan ADHDsta ja kaikesta sen ympärillä liittyvästä asioista. Seuraava jakso odotellessa oikein paljon rakkautta sinne.